Guys, you are not gonna believe this. We did it. I feel like we did it together. I feel like I've gone a little bit wild this summer. I have finished my last arc in my outrageous arc TBR, which was almost 20 romance arcs in a row, and I only missed one. And I'm gonna be honest, when I started this, I thought I would definitely miss more than one. I didn't. I only missed the one, and that's just because it was a really bad book and I was not gonna waste my time on that. So I do plan on doing a wrap up of this entire wild summer of romance that I've been reading, just because I feel like it's been a lot and I kind of want to honor that. But I'm going to start with this review of the last book, basically for a round number, book 20 in this cycle. And we did not go out on a high note, unfortunately. I actually did something after I did this reading that I almost never do, and I was so flummoxed by the way that this book ended and the way that I felt about it that I went and I read other people's reviews, and I will talk about why. But first, let's talk about the book itself. So the book in question is called The Witch is Back by Sophie Morgan. This is, if you have not already guessed, a witchy romance. One of our main characters is Emma, or Emmeline. She is a witch. I'm sure you're shocked. And she is living a very atypical witch experience. She lives in Chicago, where she co-owns a bar with her friend Tia, who is also a witch, and their friend Leah, who is a human. And the bar is called Toil and Trouble. The cocktails are witchy themed, and that was a really great setting. Loved that opening. Also, what you find out in this opening scene is that Emma's life is very complicated. When she was growing up, she had a very abusive relationship with her mom, not necessarily physical, although sometimes mostly mental and psychological. So Emma's really shy, she's really quiet, and she never really believes that she is enough. Compounding that issue, while she was growing up, she had a friend named Bastian. He was from a much higher ranking family than hers. Hers is basically just scraping the bottom of acceptable high society. And when they became friends, Emma's mother jumped on this and basically entered Emma and Bastian into a witchy marriage contract when they were kids. So they grew up friends, but they also always knew that they were going to marry each other. Now, when that time rolled around, when they turned 21, Bastian up and left, leaving a note saying, "I'm sorry, I can't marry Emmeline," and he has been gone for a number of years. On this particular opening of the book, it's Emma's birthday, which also happens to be the day that she was abandoned by Bastian, so she's not really a fan of it. Like I said, she has decided to remove herself from witch society because of the fallout of this and owning this bar in Chicago. And who wanders in like no time at all has passed saying, "Hey, not even a hug for your fiance?" Yeah, it's Bastian, who has walked in the door of her bar in Chicago after 7 years of disappearing and is just like, "Yeah, we're meant to get married. We have to get married. Let's do this." And somehow the boy is shocked when Emma is like, "What?" Turns out there are some complicating factors to their marriage contract, which neither of them were aware about because they were kids when it was made and their parents signed it. But basically, Bastian's mom is getting really sick because the terms of the contract have not been fulfilled. There are some other things that are in that contract that are very sneaky that were done by Emma's mom. It's like a whole thing. Emma also has some family drama going on. She found out after Bastian left that her father had a whole other family, and she's just met her 13-year-old half-sister who she's trying to keep secret from both her mom and Bastian. There is a lot going on. I have to say that in the beginning, I actually really liked the opening because Bastian just kind of blows in and he is very clearly used to being the like perfect rich boy of a loving family, only child. Like, he is just used to everything going his way. He remembers Emma as the girl who followed him around. He wasn't in love with Emma before he left, but he kind of knew, and everyone knew, that Emma would have done anything for him. And he just kind of expects Emma to be the same somehow, and he is thoroughly shocked when she is like, I am not going to kowtow to you anymore. And I thought that that was a really great dynamic and would definitely involve Bastian like learning some emotional intelligence. And Emma seemed really committed, and she had friends beside her like Leah and Tia and her half-sister Sloane, who were really just like kind of bucking her up and being like, yeah, he did something really terrible and you need to just hold firm and stay firm and, you know, make him not pay, but like, I mean, he did you wrong. Unfortunately, what happens really quickly once Emma learns that Bastian's mom is sick is that she pretty easily falls down, right? She's like, oh, well, if your mom is sick, I guess we will actually get married. He drags her back into witch society to like go through these like rituals and parties and things that she really doesn't want to be a part of. And all of a sudden I started being like, ugh, you know, Emma's still trying to have a spine, but she has clearly been backed into a corner. And my like, started just going off. It was very not headed in a direction I was interested in, but I was like, you know, I'll give this book a chance to, you know, have some emotional intelligence learning going on. The problem is that it never got better. And it was unfortunate because particularly the side characters I thought were really great. Emma has a brother named Cole who is on her side in the family drama, and Cole, even though he only shows up for a couple of scenes, has a great banter with her friend Leah, and Tia has something going on with a warlock named Henry who used to be Bastian's best friend, and Tia and Henry clearly had something going on. Like, there is some relationships being set up for further books here where I was like, oh, those characters are really interesting and I love their banter and their feelings, and like, you know, Sloane having this complex history and Emma trying to navigate that relationship was tried to be handled in a nuanced way. And I was like, this has so many things that should have made me like it. As I was reading it, I just couldn't understand what was really throwing me off about Emma and Bastian's relationship. It just never felt real or all the way there. And I was trying to, you know, not let my personal necessarily feelings of like, you know, Emma just kind of like, oh, you just fell over when he asked you to. Like, you know, his mom is sick and there are some things going on. And so I was like, okay, I can understand some of this. And Bastian it is a dual POV, and so you see him kind of moving Emma from the dependable friend column to a like sexy woman I'm attracted to column, and that was nice, I guess. There is just in the middle so much miscommunication and so much they aren't telling each other, and they know that they're not telling each other everything, and they know they're in a risky situation, and Emma has done this whole negotiating thing where they're gonna only get married and like paper, and then like everything else is gonna stay separate in their lives, and then they start sleeping together. And so then I felt even more uncomfortable, where it was just like, not only has Emma kind of rolled over for this guy, they both are aware, even if they don't know what the secrets are, that there is something like not being totally communicated here, and they're just like, yeah, there's no way this goes poorly. Let's just sleep together. It's just, oh, wow. This is also basically the first time either of them has slept with another person, and it was one of those things where it was like, I think they were trying to do like the it's always been you thing, and I was just like, they're in their late 20s at this point. Like, everyone's journey is different, but again, Emma, having been in love with the same person her whole life, been abandoned by him and didn't ever think he was coming back, had a lot of bad things happen, and then she's just like, yeah, I waited for you. And I was just like, oh, no. I can't talk to you about the ending because I don't want to spoil it, but I kind of felt like this book was like on the edge of like, this is good, I'm okay with this, it's a little bit rickety, but like, you know, I'm having a good time, the characters are great. And then the ending happened and I was like, what? And so definitely for me, it was a book that was like very tenuously like, I think I'm enjoying this, like it's okay, it's not my favorite thing, we're okay. And then the ending happened and it just kind of like flunked for me. And it's really funny because when I said this to my fiance, he was like, well, a book that was mostly a good book is still a good book, right? And I was like, no, if the ending for me falls flat, I have a really hard time wrapping my head like positively around the rest of the book. That's personal to me as a reader. It's how I feel. If that is not something you feel, maybe you do want to give this one a chance, but I will just say that the ending just did not redeem it. When I finished it, I was trying to figure out, okay, what parts of this book are just tropes or situations that didn't work for me as a reader, and what in this might be in the writing that's a little bit like, nah, that's not really working. And obviously every reader is different, but I don't normally go and read other people's reviews before I make mine. I like mine to be my own thoughts, you know, not affected by anything else that I might have read. But before I did this one, I did go and read some other Goodreads reviews, for example, because I was just so confused by how I felt about this book. And there was someone on Goodreads who I think put it in a really good way that made sense to me, which is that this book feels really young. It's almost like you are reading a YA novel in the sense that the emotional intelligence for these characters, the way that they're acting and reacting, even though one of the points of this book is two childhood friends having a second chance to get together after they've grown up and become adults, they just really didn't feel adulty and they felt very young. And I thought maybe I would have given them more grace for some of the ways they reacted, some of the things they said, some of the things that happened had they been younger. But again, when the point of your book is that they're coming back together and learning who they are as adults, and still to feel so young and like they're saying that they've had these experiences as adults, but they are not proving that they've learned anything from them, it just felt a little odd. And it made me think that I think I would have reacted better to this had this been a young adult romance, just because some things would have made more sense. I just can't ever particularly enjoy a book where the female main character in particular in a hetero couple is just such a doormat. And this really felt like a kind of, even though the book was trying really hard to make Emma have a full life when Bastian was gone, you know, she moved to Chicago, she opened a bar, you know, she tried to stand up for herself with her mom as, you know, Bastian went out and he joined archaeological digs in Egypt, and he's been to Rome, and he's been all around the world. And it still just felt like Emma's world was really insular and small without him. And it's only really with him that she can really be her true self. And that is not my favorite thing in a romance novel. I want one where, yes, they grow together as a couple, but they can stand on their own as independent, fully fleshed out adults. And that never happened. The ending made it worse, and I was just like, ugh. So, yeah. I don't want to belabor the point. I think I've made it. I was not a super fan of this one. The thing that I will say is that I really liked the dynamic in the two other couples that I think will get books after this. If, I don't know if it was a 3-book deal or what, but there are clearly 2 other relationships being set up, and I think that they are really interesting. And I do believe that authors with every book are likely to get better. And so because I like the dynamics of those couples, I might try to read the next book in this series when it comes out. I just won't have it like the top of my TBR. Will definitely want to check it out and tell you guys about it. And did it get better? Are these characters just better? I don't know. I don't know if this book is getting more books in the series. I just think that it is. But if they do, I will let you know. Otherwise, If you want to take a chance on this book yourself, you can check it out from your local library, your local bookstore. Even though this is an ARC review, thank you to the publisher and Edelweiss for my e-copy, it is already out. I just got to my review late. So you can check it out for yourself. I will just say, if you want a witchy romance and you already haven't read The Ex-Hex by Aaron Sterling, I reviewed that and its sequel, top notch. Go read that. Sorry. Thanks, guys. Bye.